Hi, I'm Donna Joy Asher from Living Through Heart, and today is the 24th of October 2023. This video is aligning with my 50th podcast. And what I've decided to do is every 50 podcasts is just have a check-in of where I'm at right now, what I've been doing, what I'm planning, where I'm going, what I've learned, and just go from there. So the last few years have been really massive for me. It's 2.5 years, just over 2.5 years since I left my husband of 27 years, or my partner of 27 years. We'd been married for, I think, maybe 12 years. 27? No, we must have been married for longer than that. I don't know. I can't remember. Anyway, we're together for a very, very long time. And he was a very good man. It just got to a point where I knew we just weren't what each other needed anymore. We weren't energetically aligned with what we wanted in life. And we were really just making each other miserable and hanging on for the sake of the word marriage and the fact that we loved each other as people. And we had all these plans and stuff, but it just wasn't aligning anymore. So that's been just over 2.5 years. And I've been on a huge journey in that time, big journey leading up to the point where I was actually able to do that and step away. And it's been a year and a half since I stopped work as a dentist, which is massive as well. So in that time, I've traveled a lot. I've been through a lot. Well, when I say travel, I mean myself, but I have actually traveled as well. And I've been, especially in the last pretty much year, I've been on a huge healing journey. Some stuff was shown, came up in me. You probably heard me talking about realizing I was an anxious attacher and everything. So I just wanted to check in with where I'm at right now with everything. So recently I had this incident that happened, and you may have already heard me talk about it, where a thought dropped into my head. And normally this thought would have really caused and created a lot of pain within me, a lot of visceral pain, like a oof pain, like and really what would have been underneath that pain would have been that thought process, that belief of I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not lovable. And that this thought would have been just like, see, like a knife. See, that's why. That's why. Anyway, this thought dropped in, and I kind of like tensed, waiting for the pain, and nothing happened. I was just like, that was weird. Where'd my pain go? And it was kind of like this part of me was running around going, hello, hello, has anyone seen my pain? Has anyone seen my pain? And I realized that a part of me actually liked the pain. It was like this cathartic release. It was kind of like backing up this identity of this wounded person and the identity of who I was. And it was gone. And basically, I think, I'm not saying it's all perfect, and I'm sure there'll be little things and triggers, and I'm sure I'm about to go into a whole new level of stuff, right? But that old identity of the wounded daughter, the wounded wife, and I need to be perfect, I need to be right, I need to be lovable, I need to be worthy, the people pleaser in me has basically shed. That skin has shed. And what's come up now is obviously another layer of just identifying fear within myself. There's a lot of fear sort of induced stuff within my ancestral lineage, and people who are still alive live in a very fear-based life. And that's what I got brought up in. And there was a moment in time where I was able to, I used to I don't have a TV, I don't read the newspaper. I don't listen to the radio. I rely on people. If something important happens, people are pretty good at telling you about it, right? And I don't immerse myself in what the news people decide to show me, decide to tell me, because it's always very negative side. And there's you think about it, there's some amazing things happen in the world as well, but we don't ever hear about them. News just seems to be like, watch out for this, or watch out for that, or that's terrible, this is terrible. And it's like sometimes at the end they'll have the sports and maybe a feel good thing, right? But it's always, if you think about it, and people watching the news, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, right? There's not. But what I've observed tends to happen within myself is that, and within people that I know, it's like it gives them this sense of control. They've watched the news, they know what's going on in the world, and now they're in control and they know what to watch out for, how to stay safe. And sometimes for some people, it's just feeding something where they they're caught up in this story they have about the world, about how the world is not safe and about how the world is like dangerous and everything. And it's feeding into that. And I'm trying not to be in that story. And I got to a point where I was able to observe this within my certain members in my family, where I was able to observe the fear pattern rather than being in the fear pattern. And I still feel it when something gets said. I have this starting to happen within me, and then I just breathe through it and allow it, and realize that it's not true. It's just a belief patterning, a perception, a way of looking at things, and then I'm able to release that. So there's a lot of stuff that I've been able to release, and a lot of stuff now coming up. And for me, a lot of this fear that's coming up now is fear of my future, fear of how I'm going to make money, fear of what things are going to look like, trying to control stuff. And then there is this element of having done so much study and so much work, and then feeling this pressure to perform, this pressure to prove myself, which is leftovers of obviously that need to be perfect, need to be lovable, all that stuff. And I used to have to control my outcome, my destiny, what things looked like, and I would force outcomes. And when you're trying to force an outcome, it never works well. Have you ever done it when you're like, you're trying to do something right, and then you got to put a lot of pressure on it, and then when it goes, it's like something breaks, or you end up punching yourself. I know I had a patient come into work once when I was working as a dentist, and he had a broken nose. I'm like, what happened? He said, "Oh, I was trying to pull down this." It was a kid's playhouse that was built in a tree, and he was trying to pull this board off, and it was stuck, and he just really let go of all common sense and just became so focused on getting this thing off that when it finally gave, he just smacked himself in the face with it and just like squashed his nose. So for me personally, when I'm forcing an outcome, it's like that. I become so totally focused on this creation of what I want it to look like and forcing it to happen that it invariably is never good for me. And, there's this fine line for me now trying to work out what is manifesting and what is forcing, and what is control and what is fear within manifestation. Like, am I really manifesting, or am I trying to control? Because this whole like manifesting, you've got to break it down to the detail and the outcome. But for me personally, trying to create something known that I can control and I can manifest is really for me just coming from all I know that is possible. And if I open up wider and hold more of a higher level of what I want, then what will unfold? So that's the fear that comes with that, right? That letting go, that not being in control, that not being worried, that not being like, but what about this and what about that? And just trusting that everything is unfolding exactly the way it is meant to. And so I've been on a bit of a journey. I went to Europe in, goodness, it was August, September. Yeah. And I facilitated a retreat, and I hooked up with my beautiful friends that I've been working with that I had never met. And while I was over there, I was doing a practice on myself that I was learning as part of the Tantra practitioner training I'm doing currently. And it was Feed the Demon. And I was taking myself through a Feed the Demon process, and I tapped into self-hatred. And I didn't know it was there, right? And I remember my gorgeous friend Charlotte, who taught me how to be a hypnotherapist, saying to me, yeah, when you get the clients down to self-hatred, you're really starting to get somewhere. And I was like, I don't hate myself, But then I tapped into this part of me that was like, it's all your fault. It's all your fault we don't have somebody. It's all your fault because we're not lovable. It's all your fault. And it was like this, oh my God, part of me does hate me. And that set off this journey. And then I was like, oh my God, how many years is it going to take to clear this? But the thing is that it actually doesn't have to take that long to clear shit when you're willing to dive into it, right? So during the course of while I was away, and still obviously integrating and moving through stuff, but I was able to take that self-hatred and move into what that was about and actually embrace those parts of me. The parts of me that are capable of doing really bad things. So the parts of us that are in the shadow that we ignore, or we deny, or we're not allowed, we resist, we're not allowed to be selfish, not allowed to be greedy, not allowed to be angry, not allowed to live. And then we're like, we all have to be higher and mighty. But all we're doing is actually like trying to cut ourselves in half. Like, we're not that. And the more we push it, the more we resist it, the more it pushes back. And it comes out in different ways. And then we don't like ourselves when it comes out as like a So for me, it was this journey of just actually acknowledging who I really am and what I'm capable of, and having compassion. I mean, initially there wasn't the self-love, but I was able to have compassion for her, compassion for myself. And I was able to start to bring these pieces back in and feel the wholeness of myself. And when that happened, something really interesting happened. I didn't need to compete anymore because I'd been denying the fact that I was actually capable of being a real fucking bitch, right? Denying the fact that I was capable of doing really dark, evil things because I've been denying that part of me. I've been having to prove that I wasn't that. And the way I was proving that I wasn't that was by like having to have people like validate me and having to basically compete with others to be better. And when you find yourself like being really down on somebody and like, because they're like this, right? That we're often doing that because if they're like that, then what we're really saying is that I'm not like that. I'm better than that. So just have a bit of self-observation on you there, because when you find yourself being really critical of someone, normally there's a reflection in there of yourself. There's actually a part of you that denying that you're seeing in them. And because you're so busy denying it in yourself, you're going to be really critical of them because you can see it in them. But really it is part of us. So when I was able to start to bring in these parts of me and own it, I stopped having to compete. I stopped having to show up in a certain way. And I was just able to really let go. I did some really deep ceremony work with my beautiful friend and mentor, Keith Hodge, while I was over there. And I worked with him in his academy, Intuitive Academy, coaching, and about to go into teaching within that as well. And he took me on some really deep ceremonies. And then I was facilitating at the retreat and going through some stuff during that, and actually got to the point where I was able to start to bring in self-love. Now, obviously, this is in levels too. Because what I realized as soon as I got back and I dove into the Tantra practitioner training, which is all about feminine practices, was that I could say I was loving myself, but I wasn't loving myself fully and deeply because I was denying. I don't know how to even put this. It was like I was like really resisting doing these feminine practices, like moving into womb clearing and really actually just embracing myself as a woman and everything that comes with that. And I realized I'd been cut off from that sort of indoctrination and cut off from my power within that, my feminine power within that. We're taught that, as women, we're quite often shamed for sexuality. We're shamed when we're too loud. We're shamed when we're too this or too gregarious or too that, and we're trying to be put back into a box where people can like feel safe around us. But really, when we're in our power, we are none of those things. And we can be sexual. And we can be loud and we can be noisy and we can laugh and we can live life to the fullest. It doesn't mean anything about us except that we are who we are. And so I'm moving into that process now of moving deeper and deeper into self-love. And I still have a long way to go with that. And I've realized that I have a lot of guilt and shame surrounding sex. And that I have a beautiful friend who is quite sexual and quite open to like one-on-one encounters and things like that. And I can listen to her talk about it and not judge her at all. And in fact, I'm like intrigued by it. And yet when it comes to me, it's like, oh no, I can't do that because somehow, and throw rocks at me. This is horrible. But there's a part of me that is like, I'm better than that. When in reality, I'm scared. I'm in fear. And there's this part of me that is feeling guilt and shame around sex. And she's the one that is like elevating herself. And when I think about it, it's all indoctrination. I've cut myself off from my power, that power that comes through us, that life force energy that turns us on and it lights us up. And we're taught that that is just about sex, but it's not. It's life force energy. And some people, people call it Kundalini energy, but even within Kundalini energy, some people think it's just about sex, but it's not. So these are all new things that I'm unraveling within myself and I'm starting to examine within myself. So I may have let go of those old identities, but now there's new stuff coming up to be observed and to be worked through as I move basically into becoming more whole. So where am I going and what am I doing with all of this? Well, at the moment, I'm coaching in a practitioner training, spiritual healing, and next year I'll be stepping in. If everything goes well, I'll be stepping into the teacher training role and actually coming through as a teacher within that academy. Um, in 3-4 months' time, I'll have finished my 1-year practitioner training as a Tantra practitioner. I've just signed up. Next year, I'll be going to India with a girlfriend. We're going to go to an ashram, a yoga ashram. I can't pronounce it, Rikishi, I think it is, up the top of India. And we're going to be there for pretty much a month studying Kundalini yoga. And the reason I want to do this is because, one, this is somewhere I'm cut off, right? And I want to understand whenever this is something that I don't understand, I have to become a master at it. I want to really embrace and embody this because I can see with the work that I'm starting to open up to where I'm going to be and meant to be going, and I'll talk more about that in a moment, that it's within feminine empowerment and helping women come into their power. And really coming into our power is coming back to self and being able to get through all the mind, release all the stories, all the identities, and just come to heart and self and into the nothingness of self and be in our power, and to not have to prove anything, to not have to be anything other than what we already are. And I can see that Kundalini yoga will be something that, even if I'm not doing it, practicing it the way it's taught, as in within the yoga, the information I'm going to learn within that and tools and stuff, I'm going to get that from that, and the science of it and the understanding of it, and also the practice of it myself and connecting into it myself, is going to be something that I'm going to be able to bring into what I'm doing with women, helping them become empowered. So I've got that next year. I'm also going back to Europe, going to go back and visit my beautiful friends and facilitate at the next Intuity International retreat, and with Breathe to the Roots, which is going to be amazing. And I am looking at studying next year into shamanic healing with this amazing tribe in Perth called One Tribe. So going in and doing shamanic, going into that as well, and learning more. Well, from what I'm gathering, talking to one of my girlfriends who's done it, more into energy healing and getting more into earthing, grounding, shamanic stuff. So I'm looking forward to bring that into the work of what I do as well. So from a work point of view and a business point of view, I recently made a very hard and painful decision to stop working with one of my beautiful girlfriends and mentors in her business. So she trained me as a hypnotherapist. She trained me as a sales coach. I stepped in as CEO of her business, and I've been working with her for many, many, many years. And I could see that the energy of it was keeping me, and I was in it because I loved her, and I was in it because I believe in what she's doing, but it was preventing me from keeping to flow with my own purpose. So for a while, it was flowing with her and flowing within her and learning from her, and then flowing within that. And then it was time for me to start flowing on by myself and to stop being too I see to other people, and to stop building up their own purpose, being there for their purpose, and to start actually blowing my own. And this is a part of this letting go of the fear and just going with it. And I could feel, when I felt into the energy, I felt like I was this dam and I was holding this water behind me because I loved her and I didn't want to let her down. And it did remind me a lot of my own marriage, about how I didn't want to leave at the end because I loved him as a person and I didn't want to hurt him. And I didn't want to hurt his family. And I didn't want to be the person who did that either, like, the bad person or whatever, whatever people want to say about me. I didn't want to be that. And so I stayed well past the use by date. And I didn't want to do this with Charlotte, because if my energy wasn't aligned with her, then it was going to be detrimental to her. And so, yeah, with everything I'd gone through in the last couple of months, all of a sudden it was time for me just to let go, break the dam, and just flow for the first time in my life, not try to hold on to the banks or have an aura or control the journey, but just to free flow with that water and to see where I got washed up. And so that's beginning now, that process. And I'm still not 100% sure what it's going to look like or how I'm going to work with people. I'm thinking more workshops is feeling really good, maybe online and in person, and working with other people, putting stuff together, and maybe having some one-on-one clients as well, because when I'm working one-on-one with clients and bringing in all of the elements of everything that I've learned, we're having some really powerful shifts, and starting to free them up to follow their own purpose in their own lives. So that's where I'm going within that. The other exciting news is that getting back into my creative side, sort of allowing my feminine to come up, because I've been for so long in my masculine energy and my doing energy. And really cutting off my creativity. You may have heard me tell the story of how when I was in grade 10 or 11, I decided I wanted to be a fashion designer. I was like, oh, I just dropped in and it was like, yes, and it lit me up. And that's what I wanted to do. And when I went and told my parents, my dad just freaked the fuck out and basically just like squashed me. It wasn't safe. It wasn't a good, solid, stable career. And basically was like, no, you go to uni and you study really hard and you get a degree and you get a job and then you earn good money and then you can do this stuff in your own time. And the problem was that there never was any of my own time to really do it in. And instead I put that creative energy into work, into business. And it just became all about that masculine doing, achieving, proving myself, validating myself, doing more and more. Which in a way I still am, right? But for me now, it's not to prove something as opposed to just because I want to, just because I love learning, just because I can bring more of it in. And look, I gotta be totally honest here. Whenever I do one of these courses, whenever I go into one of these courses, it's really about me, about what I'm going to get out of it for me personally. How am I going to expand? How am I going to grow? And then it just naturally flows over into how I can help others, how I can work from there, which I'm actually really happy about because it means that I'm not in people pleasing mode anymore. I'm not sacrificing myself for other people. I'm putting myself first. And then the energy I get from that by feeding into myself is flowing over me into others, as opposed to people pleasing and doing stuff for other people for what I get back for them. I'm giving it to myself now. So I'm really happy about that, to identify that within myself. So I have bought a business with a girlfriend. I don't know if I said that before. I don't know why I bothered writing notes. I've not gone off them. So my favorite jewelry designer and maker, and I'm wearing her stuff right now. She's in Geraldton, a beautiful woman, and she put her business up for sale. And I thought to myself, why not? Why not? My friend, one of my best friends, Shana, and I had always been doing little craft stuff, and we were doing Kurunuki pottery, and she's an amazing artist, does beautiful paintings, and she was wanting to get into making bead earrings and stuff. And then we were always joking around about having an Etsy shop because there's only so much stuff you can create. There's only so much room that you have, and there's only so many bits of pottery or gifts or whatever that your friends will receive from you with a smile on their face before they're like, oh God, where am I going to put this? I remember when I did my first pottery course, I created these vases that didn't even hold water. They leaked and gave them away as presents. Anyway, so when her business came up for sale, I thought, why not? So we're in the process of going through the finalization of that. Turns out you can't sell an Etsy shop. We're having to recreate the Etsy shop again, new listings on our own business, which is a shame because it means we've lost all of the reviews and we've lost all of the sales and all the hard work she's put into that. We have to start from scratch, but we get all her amazing stock that she has handmade. And not this weekend coming, but next weekend, so the first weekend in November, we're going up to actually meet her and hug her and stay with her. And she's going to actually teach us how to make this jewelry. So it's like electroforming copper and silver plating and stuff, and working with crystals. And I'm really looking forward to being able to use this as almost like a meditative process of coming to heart and being in space and creativity and making these beautiful pieces of jewelry for people to wear and for people to get the energy from this jewelry. So stay tuned for that. I will be bringing more to that when that website and that Etsy shop is finished. And I will be creating a special voucher for followers, so a discount voucher. So stay tuned for that. More to come on that. Now, the other thing I want to offer you is if you are interested, if I'm talking about running feminine workshops and empowerment workshops, and you are interested in that, then I do have a form. The website's not actually done yet. I totally organized. This is me actually resisting the need to be perfect. When I used to do a business thing before, like when I was in the online marketing and teaching, like coaching in marketing and business, everything had to be perfect before I could release it. And then I would release it to zero audience, right? Because I hadn't been building anything. So yes, the livingthroughheart.com website as of this date doesn't really exist except for a form and I think a cookie, a pop-up cookie form on it. But it will be coming soon now that I'm opening up a bit more space and time for my own stuff. I will be developing that soon. So, but you can actually, there's a form there. So it's livingthroughheart.com/ more info, all in one word. So MOREINFO. And you can just fill out that form if you are interested in hearing from me in the future. If I do release any feminine, workshops for anyone, even if you're a man and you're listening to this and you're interested, if I do start to run men stuff in the future, or I work with some beautiful men in this field who run stuff of their own, and they're starting to create things as well. So I could always also let you know about that. But if you are interested in coming into more of the space within this realm of empowerment, coming into yourself, and empower being just like personal power, that ability to say yes, that ability to say no when you mean it, having your boundaries in place, knowing what you want to need in life, what your desires are, and having the power to be true to yourself and stand within that, and to start to consciously create, because I'm a conscious creation coach as well, using a really powerful technique called a superconscious recode. I'm actually off to Bali in about just under a month to go and do a retreat in that. So I'm really excited about that. So if you're interested about coming in and doing some workshops with me where I bring everything I've learned together to help you really start to shift through some stuff, to start to have the freedom and the flow in your life. And it doesn't have to be about creating a business or whatever, but just if you just want to be happy and you're not, and you're just unable to make yourself do whatever it is that you need to do to become happy, put your name down. What's going to happen is eventually I'm going to create something and I'm going to just email you about it, and you can go read more information on it and see if it's right for you in that moment. Now, if at the time that you're listening to this, these workshops are already available, this link will actually take you to a page where you can read more about it. So go check that out, livingthroughheart.com/more info. Stay tuned for more about Savage Boho, which is the business name we're creating and the brand we're going to be creating, because what we want to embody within Savage Boho, it's like a movement, really, a spiritual kind of feeling of women who are in their power. And I don't know if you've heard the song, I Am My Mother's Savage Daughter. Go listen to it if you haven't. It's an awesome song. That's what we want to bring in, that raw savageness ability to be who you are and to be proud of it, and to not to have to pretend to be something else, to not to have to bow down to other people, to not feel bad about who you are, and just to be able to embrace all that you are. It's funny, I was talking to my girlfriend Shannon Valance, who is amazing. If you haven't seen her, go check her out on Facebook. And her girlfriend Ruth is an amazing sound healer. She's a frequency DJ. So she's on Instagram. Check her out there. I was talking to her the other day about this embodying wholeness, because she's been a really important part of my journey as well, going to retreats with her and her ceremonies and stuff. And I was saying, so funny, isn't it, how when you actually start to just go, yeah, I'm capable of doing those things. And I did, if you believe in past lives or whatever, it's fine. If you don't, just think of them as metaphors. But I did that shit. Yeah, did it. And you know what? I choose not to do that today. And that's fine too. It's okay to admit that we're capable of stuff, but then to choose the higher path and purpose of not doing that. And it's when we resist that stuff and when we pretend we're not capable of it, when we truly are, it is really a part of us, then it comes through us and it comes out of us when we're not actually allowing it and like embodying it and being compassionate towards ourselves. Then it all gets twisted and turned and we end up becoming that which we don't want. Anyway, I'm going to end this now. I think this is long enough. So I hope you enjoyed it, this update of where I'm at, and I will see you next time.